Baruch haba, welcome to our Language of the Prophets series. We are starting a new book today. Today we are in Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy. And we will be doing our Aliya for the first Aliya today. First Aliya can be found in Deuteronomy.
Rabbi ako, me.
What's that?
Me. Ani.
Okay.
Ani, first Aliya.
Okay. But we're going to do just the first Aliya for class today, right? So you can do the first.
Yeah.
You can do the part. The first part. All right. Great.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
All right.
Very excited to study.
Nice. Hallelujah. Okay, so the first Aliya is Deuteronomy 1, verse 1 through verse 10. All right. I like that excitement.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Only verse 1 only, Rabbi.
Yep. Here it is. You can read what's on this page. This is verse 1. So here we have our chapter 1, and you have to read verse 1. So go ahead.
Okay. Can I start now? Okay. Ele hadevarim asher diber Moshe el kal Yisrael be'eber hayarden bamidbar ba'araba mol sup bein paran uben tufel bilaban bakatserot bidi zahab.
Yofi. Very nice speed.
Yopi, make
Just one thing I would change. One thing I want to comment on.
Rabbi, can we pray first?
Oh yeah.
Can we pray first?
Sure. Abba, please bless my students. Let your Shekhinah be on us. Amen. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so this one here, this was the only one you missed, I think, and it's a bit tricky, right? What's happening? So when you have a construct chain, right? When you have this group of words here with our construct chain, there. Thank you, sister, for the reminder on prayer. So construct chain, you have a group of words connected together, yeah? And hold on, I gotta mute somebody, there's some background noise. So what happened in ancient times, there's only one accent on that chain. It's like a compound word. So even though we read these as different words today, El Kol Yisrael, originally it was all like one word. El Kol Yisrael. So you see over here we have our accent mark, this guy. And notice there's no accent mark here. There's no accent mark here, right? There's none. And the makef makes it extra clear that this is actually like one word. So what's happening is we have a qamets in an unaccented closed syllable, right? He's closed because of our lamed, right? The accent is over here. So when you have a qamets and it's in a closed, unaccented syllable, then that means it's an O sound. It's read like O. So it's not El Kal Yisrael, but in this case it's El Kol Yisrael. Although you wouldn't accent it the way I'm doing it, but that's how we end up reading it. So even the Baal Koeh, when he reads from the Torah scroll, oftentimes he'll pause at each word. There's like a little segment. He'll say El Kol Yisrael, and that's not really how it was originally read, right? We don't read it the way it used to be read, but it was one word. It was like one word. El Kol Yisrael, but we don't read it that way anymore today. Yeah, and for the sake of Kol Yisrael, it's okay. You don't have to, but just be aware. That's why that's an O sound. Everybody with me? You guys got any questions?
Yes, po.
Yeah, Rabbi, that is qamets. Why? But skull is qamets. So the word call, it changed to sound like call.
Well,
that's qamets.
It's called a qamets katan, right? I'll write it up here on the top. Qamets.
Qamets katan.
Qamets katan.
Qamets
Katan. So that means a small qamets or a short qamets, right? So some people will call it a chassid qamets. So if you remember in our, let me see if I think if I have that available right now. I don't have it available here. So if you remember, we have, I'm going to write on the very bottom, okay? When we have our vowels, we have we have a certain class of vowels. So let's say A class, okay? And we have short vowels for that class, and we have long vowels that fit in that class. Long. Sorry, it's not letting me write there so well. There's a crack. You don't want me to write in the crack. Okay, so if it's a short vowel for A class, it's pataf, right? Ah. And if it's a long vowel for A class, it's qamets ah, right? And then we have the O class vowels. Some say U class. And for the O class, we have cholim, right? It can also be written with a vav and a cholim, right? Or we have short qamets katan, and that's also O. And I'm sorry, I shouldn't have written it over here as long. I got these backwards here. Let me erase that. Hold on, let me fix that. That might be confusing. I wrote them in the wrong columns. Okay. So for the O class vowels, the long vowel is the cholim. Cholim, right? And that guy can also be written like this with the vav, or without the vav, which is called defective cholim, right? It's a defective cholim. And then the short vowel that makes an O sound is the short qamets. And it is unfortunate, they look the same. They look identical, right? So you really can't base it just on, these two guys, they look exactly the same, right? Yeah. So you have to know the rule. The rule is if qamets is in a closed syllable, closed. What's a closed syllable? What's that mean? Anybody? Closed syllable? Closed syllable?
Ends in a letter, consonant.
Yes, very good, very good. So a closed syllable ends in a consonant, right? So we'll just say, ah. I deleted out a lot of those transitions when I edited. I don't know if you guys saw. Ends in consonant. Consonant. Okay. So in this case, our consonant is the lamed. See up here? The syllable ends in a consonant. But that's not all. The other part of the rule. Oh, why won't let me draw there? Oh yeah, that crack is okay. The other part of the rule is if that syllable, the syllable that has the qamets in it, is unaccented.
Unaccented.
And so that's what's happening here. Because if we come up here and we look at this one, this block that I have in the blue, this construct chain, let's look for our accent marks. And it's okay if you don't know what other special grammatical meaning they have. For now, they're just accent marks to you guys, right? So look at L. There's no accent mark on L, is there? Over here, there's nothing. Look at kol. There's no accent marks, right? There's no Hebrew. Like look at Eli, the first word. This is munach, and then here's another accent mark. Rabbi. Okay, so there's an accent mark. There's an accent mark. Accent mark. Accent mark. Accent mark. Voila, nothing. Nothing. Just over here we have an accent mark, right? On top of the aleph in Israel. Okay, so this entire thing was originally one word. So that means that this one right here, this word, he qualifies for the short qamets because he's got number one, check. It's in a closed syllable, right? It ends in a lamed. And number two, it's unaccented. That means the accent is somewhere else, right? So it has to be O. So El Kol Yisrael, right? And the idea was, the way this happened phonetically was because the speaker in ancient times, in ancient Israel, they would rush, when this was read as one word, they would rush through the syllables. Just like when we have a long word in English, we only accent one syllable of the word, don't we? And if it's a compound word, for example, if you have a house and you have a plant, and then you have a house plant, right? It's like one word, right? Same thing back then. And so because they rushed through it, it got less attention, and so it shortened from a long vowel to a short vowel. And in this case, it's a cholim. It's the long, you can spell kol another way, can't you? If kol is standing by itself, how do we spell it? I'm going to write it up here on the upper left, okay? Let's see how we spell kol. What vowel do I put with kol if it's standing by itself? Cholim.
With holem.
Yeah, with cholim.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly. You guys see it? Cholim. And cholim is a long vowel, right? That's the long vowel. This guy right here, he can be written that way or defectively, right? So that's long. It's long, right? Long. But when I put a makef, or even without the makef, and I attach another word after him, then, so here, even if you don't write it, there's an accent. It's only got one syllable. There's an accent right there. Kol. Now the accent moves. Moves to the left, and we're left with, and then some other stuff. And the accent is over here. There's no more accent, so the long vowel reduces to a short vowel. Kol. See, that's what happened. It's still an O sound to us, but it's slightly shortened. In ancient times, they would have differentiated between the kol, and would have been like a kol. It would have been something shorter. Okay, do you guys all understand? Are you,
Yes
okay.
po.
Okay, Yofi. Okay, so Be'eve Hayarden, good. Okay, so let's go through and let's translate. Okay, Eile, what's Eile mean?
This.
This,
This,
these,
this,
right?
yeah,
These. More,
This.
it's more like these. It's plural, right? Oh, it's
Plural.
changing on me.
Plural.
Yeah, these. Yeah, these. So these Devarim. What's that mean?
The words.
The words.
Yeah.
This, the
The
words.
These. And so how we have to make it make sense in English, right? Now you'll notice that Devarim, it has the definite article. There's no definite article in Eile. So how do I translate Eile Devarim when there's no article? One has article and one doesn't. What word does it need in English?
These are the
Yeah, that's right. That's right. These are.
which most
Go ahead, Naomi.
These are the words. Yeah.
Exactly. So these are. So we know we have to say are. It's some.
Oh yes,
They'll
that's
call
right.
it a predicative, adjectival sentence, right? So Hebrew doesn't put is or are in there. If it said Eile Devarim, that would be different. That would mean these are the words, as opposed to some other things being the words.
These are.
Right? Because remember, what's the normal order for noun and adjective? What comes first?
Oh.
now.
That's right, the noun comes first. So,
Wow.
hold on, let me get my writing back on. So, usually we would have noun followed by adjective, right? If we're not doing an is sentence, right? Is or are, okay? So here the noun is Devarim, right? The words or the things, right? And Ele is our adjective, right? Now, already they're out of order, aren't they? So if this said Ele, usually the way we would say these things, we'd say Devarim followed by adjective Ele. That would be how you say these things, right? Moving the word order, if we said Ele Devarim, it would mean these things, right? There's emphasis. You move the word order, so you're emphasizing these as opposed to those, right? There's some kind of extra emphasis you have to capture in your translation, a nuance. But since there is no definite article here at all, they don't agree in definiteness, then it's very easy to understand what's happening, and we have to say are. Sorry, that English are. So like Naomi correctly said, these are the words, or the things. Asher, what's Asher?
That
Which
Diber,
which that
spoke.
can be that.
Moshe,
Moshe spoke.
yeah. El Kol
That
Yisrael,
spoke.
To all.
to all of Israel, right? Okay, good. Be'ever Hayarden. Do you guys know what Aver is?
Across.
Yeah, it's like on the other side.
Crossover.
Yeah, this Aver, it actually has a lot of meanings, this noun. It can actually mean like a ford sometimes, like a river crossing, a ford. It can mean the other side. Sometimes it's like what just is touching the bank of a gorge or a river, right? So you have like a big gorge, like kind of a cliff sort of thing, and the other side of it is the Aver, right? So you have to be flexible with this one. But really, it's true. It can mean a lot of different things. Yeah. Okay. So in this case, at Aver Hayarden. So maybe the side of the Jordan, right? On the edge of the Jordan, something like that. Bamidbar, what's that mean? Bamidbar.
Wilderness.
Wilderness. Yeah.
In the
Yeah. In the
In
wilderness.
the wilderness. Because
Yeah. Good. And
in the wilderness.
it's good. It's preferable to say wilderness unless you know for sure it's desert, right? Some people they learn this word as desert, but that is only a specific nuance of the word. Basically, what it means is an uninhabitable area, right? A place where people don't live. So it could be desert. If you're like out in Montana, USA, up in the snowy mountains with grizzly bears and stuff where nobody's at, that's also midbar, right? It's not a desert by any means. There's lots of trees, but it's very hard to survive. It's uninhabited, right? So ba midbar, you're right to say wilderness. That's good. Ba'arava. Now there's a bit of a
Araba.
in what?
Araba. In Araba.
Okay. Arava, who knows what this word is? This is kind of there's a word play happening here though. If you see we have the same root here, right? The same root. So especially pronouncing the ayin, it would have been more pronounced. The ayver hayaden bamidbar ba'arava mul suf. So you'd have this kind of little bit of wordplay happening. So Arava is like a step or a plain, like a step in a, you know what that is? Like a steppe, a step. Like it's kind of like this flat part. So anyway, so that's what that is. A step or a plain, like this big flat area. And so, but notice it says ba'arava. So give me the fuller translation. So now if we know that it's step or steps, how would you translate that?
Towards.
Huh?
Towards.
That's a very good and logical idea. But arava is actually part of the word. The hay's part of the word actually.
in the plain, in the steps.
Nice. Notice she got the, right? Because we have our qamets here, right? That tells you the, doesn't it? Ayin rejects the dagesh, so we have the qamets. So that's the definite article. And actually, I'll just tell you. Actually, let's see if you guys can figure this out. How would you say? Just forget the bait for a second. How would you say towards the plain or towards the steps? How do you think you would say that? Or we can step through the process. What would you have to do with this hay at the end first?
Ha'araba.
Okay, but forget the first ha. We're not going to say the. We're just going to say towards a plane. Let's just say that. Towards a plane or towards a step. I'll start.
Concerning Araba.
Arba.
Okay, I'll write.
Just Arba.
I'll write it first down here. Okay.
Ha'arba.
Okay, trying to do it neatly. Okay, so the hay is part of the word, so that means it's feminine. So if I want to put the hay locative at the end, remember the hay at the end of the word, like Yerushalayim, that means towards Jerusalem, right? The hay locative. And they'll just hay locative or directional hay. So it's hay locative. And this is what I think it was Bessie, locative, what she was thinking this was here at the end of the word, right? But now I've told you it's actually part of the word. So if I want to add the hey locative to it, just like adding any kind of suffix, first with feminine words, I put them in the construct, okay? So this hey here, must go back to its ancient form. What is the ancient ending for feminine words? Tav, exactly, tav. And now I can add my hey locative to the end. You see? Arivata.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, got it?
Arbata.
Yeah.
Arbata.
This guy becomes that, right?
Arba.
And then we have our hey locative. See? You guys got it? Locative. Great. Okay,
Yes.
good. Well, we bled all over this page, didn't we? I might erase all our marks just for a second. In a sec. Okay? Mol suf. Does anybody know this word mol? If you don't know it, it's okay.
See.
Opposite or
Now that's
across?
good. That's good that you got it.
Opposite.
Yeah. Opposite.
Opposite.
In front of. It has kind of a lot of meanings, but this is the only place in the Torah where it's spelled this way. For some reason, there's a unique spelling here. Usually, it's spelled mur. So usually you see it as mur, but it's good you can still recognize it. Usually it's a shurik. It's a shurik. For some reason,
Shurek.
yeah. For some reason here, it's a holem. I don't know why, but this is the only place. Yeah, I don't know if that's hermeneutically significant or not. Maybe you guys can dig on that and let us know. So, mol suf. So in front of or on the other side of suf,
Sea of Reeds.
Yeah. Bein Paran.
Sea of
What's
Reeds.
Bein Paran mean?
Between.
Between.
Param.
Good.
Between Param and Top.
Yes. And Tofel. Yep, we don't have to say between twice in English,
Tofel.
right? Hebrew needs it twice. English doesn't care. And Velavan, Vachatzerot. Actually, I should say Vachatzerot, since it's a place. Vedi Zahav. Okay, this is actually one place name, Di Zahav. Di Zahav. It's even though it's two words. Okay. All right. So let's analyze this a little bit. I'm going to. I think I'm going to clear our markings. Is it okay if I erase the markings there, guys? You guys mind if I nuke it? You'll get the video anyway. By the way, if you haven't been watching the videos after I re-release them, there's sometimes I put new material in there, right? Sometimes I put notes. Like if I mention a scripture, I try to put the reference, or if I mention something the sage says, I try to put the reference. Not always. I mean, it's time. It takes time, right? So if we get to where we can do this full time, B'ezrat Hashem, then I'll do a lot more quality on that stuff. But for now, at least there's some extra stuff that goes into the videos besides just music. You have to make it a little more exciting. Okay, so I'm going to erase it all then. Erase all ink on slide. Boom. Okay. And I want to, I need to mute all. Someone's got some weird background noise there. Okay. All right. And let's take a look here. Let's go back to the beginning. The Ele HaDevarim. Now, in the Mikrat Gedolot, Rashi comments on this, and he says that by saying these are the words, that the actual Hebrew expression here, Ele HaDevarim, in Rashi's opinion, and actually Nachmanides agrees with him, Rashbam agrees with him, Chizkuni agrees with him, so it's probably true. So this phrase, Eli HaDevarim, it implies a longer expression, words of rebuke, right? These are words of rebuke, words of correction, words of chastisement, etc., right? That what's following in this verse is actually a hint about what our ancestors did, right? So for example, he goes on to say that when it goes on to talk about the arabah, the step, that this is actually reminding us that the chayta, the sin at Baal Peor, happened at the steps of Moab. So this ba'arava, this reminds us of that sin that happened there, right? And when it says near Suf, Mol Suf, or in front of Suf, or by Suf, again, you have to be flexible with this particular preposition. It's reminding us what happened at the Yam Suf, the Sea of Reeds, when the people said to Moshe Rabbeinu, right before we got rescued, was it because there were not enough graves in Mitzrayim that you have taken us out to die Bamidbar? In Shemot 14:11, right? So Rashi says that this here reminds us. So the first one, this reminds us of the sin that we did at Arava. The Molsuf, it reminds us of the sin that we did at the Yam Suf. The Bein Paran or Bein Tofel. These are all, it turns out, going to remind us of sins or places that we rebelled at various places, right? So regarding Yam Suf, even the Psalms, they remind us of this. In Psalm 106, verse 7, it says, Avotenu b'Mitzrayim, our ancestors in Egypt, lo hiskilu niflotecha, they did not discern, they did not act intelligently concerning your nifloot, your wonders. Lo zacharu et rov chasadecha, they did not remember rov, the abundance, at rov, the abundance of your chasadim, of your acts of loyalty to your family, of your acts of loving kindness. Vayamaru, when they rebelled, al yam, the Yam Suf, near the sea, at the Sea of Reeds, right? So even the Psalms remember this terrible event. And then he goes on to comment, well, okay, let's step away from Rashi for a second. Are you guys all with me for now? You seeing what's happening here? The sages are showing us that these place names actually remind us of places where we rebelled. You understand? The Rashbam says, well, the straightforward sense is just that these are simply place names. And he says we often find biblical texts, they list multiple locations so that they can explain the exact location of a place that they wish to talk about, right? So we know where it happened, right? But then he goes on to admit that in some of these places there actually are sins that happened, sins that our ancestors did. So this is really interesting. So each of these place names then breaks down to a place where we did some kind of rebellion. Paran and Tofel. Tofel has this meaning of like lack of knowledge, lack of knowledge. And anyway, they each end up breaking down to be a place where a specific sin happened. Chizkuni comments that the reason that we say El Kol Israel, that Moshe is addressing all of Israel, is it's actually showing us in the text that he was at a location where, as he spoke, everyone in the Kahal was able to hear, despite the multitude, right? So this is Chizkuni's opinion. By the way, Chizkuni sometimes is known as Radak, so if you're researching and you see Radak and it seems he's saying the same thing as Chizkuni, well, that's because they're the same guy. Okay, any questions so far?
Rabbi,
Yes.
Rabbi, can I comment?
Sure.
The Ba'araba, according to Rabbi Rashi, this is the place where the Jewish Zimri was seduced by the Midianite women.
Yes, thank you, brother. Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was alluding to. Exactly. That was the Baal Peor affair, right? That the Midianites, the tradition says they dressed up like Moabites, right? That's our tradition, that they disguised themselves as Moabites, and then all this happened, and that's why Baal Peor was involved instead of who the Midianites worship. So yeah, exactly. Thank you for that. Yep. So Rashi, he says that this place had to do with that sin. Suf has to do with doubting God, doubting after all his miracles that he would save us from Egypt, and complaining that weren't there enough graves in Egypt, right? And then, let's see, Tofel actually means nonsense, right? And according to Gersonides, this is in reference to the sin at Shittim that happened. The idol worship in and of itself is, of course, senseless, according to Gersonides, and that's why the place has the name Tofel. Laban, this is Libna from Numbers 30 through verse 20, Gersonides goes on to say, and he believes that Libna or Lavan, that this is, again, you'll hear it's the same root. Let me see if I can write it here. No, it's changing. It's the same root. Can you guys hear it? Lavan and Libna. So Lavan. Oh, there's a crack there. I can't write there. Oh, come on. It's supposed to be a noon. I can't scratch it out. Leave not. Oh, I can't draw the hay here. Oh, okay. Anyway, let's write it over here. Leave not. So, Gersonides is saying these are the same places. Right? Lavan and Libna, and you can see the root is the same. So there's just there's a dialectal pronunciation happening there. And that this one, Dizahav, this is, who knows what Zahav means?
Gold.
Yeah, gold.
That's the sin of the golden
Exactly.
Sin of the golden
Very nice. That's right, Doc. So Dr. Vera got it. That Dizahav is where the sin of the golden calf happens, according to Gersonides. Yeah, and so all of these places are places. Oh, the Chatzerot, Rashi clarifies on Chatzerot. Rashi thinks that Chatzerot is where the Korach rebellion happened. So there's some disagreement on that, right? On what sins happened, but it's clear that there really is an interesting list here why these places are being listed. And the sages say it's because Moshe at this point in time, even though these Devarim are words of rebuke, he does not want to just totally embarrass the people about the sins of their fathers in those places, right? This is the younger generation the generation which is actually going to go into the land when Moshe dies. That's who he's addressing. And so he's being a little bit softer, but still he's giving them a reminder. They themselves should remember when the place names hit, oh, that's where that happened. Oh, that's where that happened. Oh, that's where that happened. So he doesn't have to shove it in their face, so to speak. At least the sages are pretty much in agreement that he's softening the rebuke a little bit out of respect for Israel. Yeah? Okay. Let's clear our writing again there. I think that's okay. Any comments or questions before we go on to the next verse? Okay, let's continue then.
Shalom. I'm Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Avram. If you'd like to support our projects, please go to www.patreon.com/Hebrew Literacy. You can sign up for a one-time or a monthly donation. Donations begin on the first of the month. If you do not have to give, then please support us in prayer. Toda Rabba.